So we had split opinions in the Queen Mother Champion Chase. Lots to look forward on the rest of day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival. Ed Quigley and Graham Rodway in the studio to look ahead to it. And guys, we'll start with the RSA Chase. 4 of the last 5 winners trained in Ireland. The one that wasn't Bobsworth, a pretty good winner for the English. This year, the Irish responsible for 3 of the top 4 in the betting. And Ed, do you think the prize is marked for export again?
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced by this whole race again. Generally, it seems weird. There's no, obviously, it doesn't appear to be a Bobsworth or a Denman or something to really get excited about. I was just totally underwhelmed by Ballycasey's recent win. Probably nothing the horses done wrong, but it just didn't seem to strike me as a phenomenally great performance. I suppose the form of the horses beats decent, but I mean, I think this could be made for an absolute turn-up, personally. I'm just not convinced by a lot of these at the top of the market. I think there's quite a few in here in the top 10 of the market I'm looking at who probably aren't going to run. There's a few who are very ground dependent, who the trainers have pretty much been hinting that if the rain carries on, they'll be skipping and waiting for entry. So the one I'm going for basically at big price is Ante-post, who won the Grade 1 at Kempton over Christmas. Now, to be blunt, it wasn't the strongest of Grade 1s. You've only got to look at the form of that race where the Paul Nicholls runner that day just failed to fire, and green flags, pretty modest. But what I will say is I was quite impressed with his run under a huge weight recently on his last run at Cheltenham, where he really knuckled down in desperate ground. It was over 2 miles 5 that day. And what really encouraged me is that once he'd been headed, he actually started to come back at the winner up the hill, which I thought was quite encouraging. He just looks an out and out. Well, he's the 3-mile Grade 1 winner. He looks an out and out galloper. He's 25 to 1. And again, I'm just looking from the viewpoint that I see 5 or 6 of the top 10 in the market here potentially not running. The price is only going to contract. It's had a look in round Cheltenham. It ran well. It's very ground dependent. It'll go on good. It'll go on heavy. I mean, it might not be good enough to win, but I think he's a dour stayer, and he'll be there or thereabouts. And at 25 to 1, I think that's fair enough price to do so.
Yeah, so one at a big price for Ed Graham, but I mean, this race has got a history of throwing up a few big price winners, but let's just talk about those that did win at the weekend. Of course, we saw Ballycasey winning the PJ Moriarty in Ireland. Also, Smad Place made it 3 from 3 over fences at Newbury. Well, 2 from 3, I should say, unseated.
At Huntingdon, yeah.
He did when he would have won. Ballycasey did nothing wrong, did he? I mean, he jumped well, and Ruby dictated, the pace from the front. It's always a bit dangerous when you let Ruby do that. He's a worthy favourite. Don't think he's anything special. I think Smad Place is a real old boat. I really think he's quite slow, and I think he needs heavy ground and a real test of stamina, which he obviously got at Newbury when he won quite a decent race, beating Sam Winner.
Like Cheltenham, he's been placed to 2 world hurdles, isn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does like Cheltenham, but really, in those world hurdles, everything behind, big bucks. I mean, we've seen them. I don't think they were the strongest races, put it that way. Those world hurdles. I don't think it took a lot to be placed in the world hurdle behind big bucks. I'm not a massive fan of Smad Place, and this ground comes up really heavy.
I mean, interestingly, on social media, Clive Buckingham's got in touch. He said the horse that got beaten at Newbury, Sam Winner, is the one he'd take out of the race for the RSA.
Well, his form times ties in with the one that I like for the race, which is Lebec, Emma Lavelle's runner. Another real old boat, really. No pace about Lebec. But what I do like about Lebec is that it's quite unexposed over hurdles, always going to be a chaser, and has really taken to it well. I mean, jumps really fluently, very good jumper. Emma Lavelle says that he's going to need soft ground, which wouldn't surprise me. But Sam Winner beat Lebec at Cheltenham a couple of starts ago, but Lebec was trying to concede quite a bit of weight to Sam Winner that day. He was conceding £8, and I just think Lebec is capable of reversing the form on level weights. I've never been blown away by Sam Winner, either over hurdles or over fences, and he's had an annoying habit of getting a long way behind before coming home like a train. I think it's quite a decent race, actually, the RSA Chase this year, and there's some promising types in it.
So Lebec and Ante-post, the selections of the guys then in the RSA Chase. The race that opens the card, well, that's the Neptune Hurdle, and last year, if you're watching these forums, Nick Watts was dead keen on the new one. He duly did the business. It looks a cracking race again this year, guys, and Faheen's the one that's been getting a lot of support on Twitter and Facebook when we've asked people for their selections. What do you make of him, Ed?
He's very quickly becoming the Irish banker, isn't he? He's been the talk horse. You get one every year where everyone seems to be on it, and well, he seems to be contracting minute by minute in his prices by standing in his horse box, and yeah, he'll be going off a short price. He reminds me very much of Michael Dagenais. I think we could have something going off at that kind of price this year. Look, he's done nothing wrong. He looks classy, but I just couldn't bring myself to back him at the price, really. It's 7-2. It makes no appeal to me. I mean, there was all this hype last year, wasn't there, about Pont Alexandro, who's the second coming. That just looked a slow old boat. But I think Faheen probably does look better. So, yeah, probably a worthy favourite. But what the interesting horse now is the Tullow Tank. Because I was I was crabbing him for the Supreme Novice Hurdle. I've been saying since the start of the season, I think he's a 2.5 miler. I mean, his breeding would suggest that. And I'd be really interested if he lined up in the Neptune. I mean, he's around the 9-1 mark. If he did line up, he would be of interest, because I think 2.5 miles of that hill will really suit him. But I couldn't bring myself to back him now. So, yeah, I'll come on to my selection in a minute. But there's nothing really grabbing my attention at the top of the market. Yeah,
well, Graham, it's interesting. Faheen's sort of market rival, Red Sherlock, for David Pipe. We've also had a lot of support for another David Pipe runner, King's Palace, on Facebook and Twitter. Matt Elwood and Michael Clancy both putting it up as the nap of the day. What do you make of him? Do you think he's more of a threat than Red Sherlock?
I don't think he'll run. I think that he's going to run in the 3-mile race, and he's a very, very good jumper, King's Palace. And he'd be tough to beat in the 3-mile race. I'd be surprised if he lines up. I think he will run Red Sherlock, who I quite like as a horse. I think he's very, very admirable. He's got a lovely attitude, really tries hard. I just think he lacks a little bit for class. To me, he doesn't look like he's quite good enough to win your average renewal of this race. You know, this is traditionally quite, arguably the strongest novice hurdle at the whole festival, year in, year out. I'm sure Red Sherlock will run really well without winning.
So selections then for you, Ed? First.
Right, well, I'm there's one down here at 20-1 called Ballyolton, who will not run if the ground's any worse than good to soft. He will probably get switched to the Supreme if it comes up testing, or we'll just skip the meeting altogether. But he ran a really good race against Garde la Victoire, where he went down narrowly back end of last year. And then anyone who saw his run last time over 2.5 at Cheltenham, over course and distance, he was absolutely tanking. He touched odds on as they hit the hill, and then went out like a light. The first thing AP McCoy said as soon as he got off, which just said, look, desperate ground. He said, just got totally stuck in it. He's a horse with lots of gears, and there's just no point on that surface. So I can't advise to back him now, because no one knows what the weather's going to do they? But he definitely is a ground-dependent horse. He's such a good mover. He travels well. We saw that when he went up north, beating Oscar Rock, where McCoy was still holding on to him 2 out. If the ground came up good, I think he'd be a fair each way bet, Ballyolton. But it really is. Day 2 seems to be the day I don't have any strong opinions on, because I just think there's so many uncertainties at the moment. So yeah, he would be my advice if we get a decent surface.
Okay, so Ballyolton perhaps on the day for Ed. And for you, Graham?
It's quite a tough race, actually, from a betting perspective, isn't it? I mean, I'm a big fan of Deputy Dan, who absolutely hacked up Warwick last time out. The only concern for me is that last year I was a massive fan of Puffin Billy for the same race, and he'd come from the same stable. And in my opinion, Oliver Sherwood just got the whole thing completely wrong. He ended up running Puffin Billy in the Supreme, and the horse has just never been the same since. Now, he's got another chance here with Deputy Dan, another horse that I think is potentially top class. And let's see him run in this race. You know, let's not mess around with the races. This is his race, and I think if he runs and he gets conditions in his favour, he's got the ability to run really, really big race, because he looked very, very good at Warwick, even though his main rival didn't fire and I think fell actually. But it was hard not to be impressed with the way that Deputy Dan ran away with the race. And I think if Oliver Sherwood can get in there right, bang on the day, which he didn't manage to do with Puffin Billy last year, then I'll be quite hopeful of a big run from Deputy Dan.
Yeah, Ben, John Sharp actually agrees with you. He says if we get very testing ground at Cheltenham, there'll be worse 20-1 shots than Deputy Dan. Looking at the rest of the card then, guys, it's probably the hardest day to try and find winners, isn't it? You've got the Coral Cup, the cross-country chase, The Fred Winter, the champion bumper.
I'm out.
It's pretty tricky, isn't it? I mean, we've had one message on Twitter. Paul says Black Hercules in the champion bumper, better the meeting.
Personally, not for me. No, the champion bumper is a race I haven't had a bet in for about 7 years. I mean, if there is one horse that potentially could run, I don't know if he will, there's a horse, Martin Keithley's called Creepy, who won a course of distance Grade 2. He's got injuries in the Neptune and the Coral Cup. Now, he won't be good enough to win a Neptune. He's rated 138. He's got to run to about 158 to win a Neptune. He's got no chance. But in a handicap off 138 on decent ground of where he's already a course and distance Grade 2 winner, I would be more interested. But again, it's in the lap of the gods is wherever he runs, so I can't recommend to back him. But if he does line up, he's one to keep an eye on.
And for you, Graham, any standouts?
I've seen that Black Hercules run and doesn't look anything outstanding to me. So, I mean, good luck with that, but I couldn't have it. Regal Encore, I think, is potential runner, as I understand it at the moment, in the Coral Cup. And if Regal Encore lines up there, then I'll be very, very interested. He's got quite a nice mark at the moment.
He's going for the Imperial Cup first, isn't he?
And then go for the double. But he's potentially absolutely thrown in on bumper form on the current mark that he's on, and wherever he turns up at the festival is going to be a big runner. But as I understand it, the Coral Cup is the target. So I wouldn't go rushing in Ante-post, having said that, because as we all know, plans can change, and there's loads and loads of handicaps to choose from at the festival. But if as planned at the moment, Regal Encore turns up in the Coral Cup, it would be a bet.
Okay, so plenty of imponderables then for day 2 of the festival. But guys, if I had to ask you for your best bet on the day, which would it be?
Anacott each way, 25 to 1.
And for you, Graham?
Sire de Grugy, non-runner, no bet, is a cracking bet, because if Sprinter Sacra doesn't turn up, he'll be 11 to 10 and you'll be on 11 to 4.
Okay, well, many thanks then, guys. Do join us again next week when we'll be looking ahead to day 3 of the festival, when of course the mighty Big Bucks goes for a 5th World Hurdle. We'll be discussing that along with the Ryanair.